On our 5th anniversary, Pablo said he wanted to give me a grand wedding. He said he deeply regretted not giving me a proper ceremony when we first got married. He told me I must be the most beautiful bride. Then, on the day of the wedding, he received a message and rushed off in a hurry, wearing a heavy wedding gown. I ran after him. He tried to comfort me, saying, "Vane, something really important came up at work. I have to go." His lie was so clumsy, yet I chose not to call him out on it, because I had cancer and I didn't have much time left. Chapter 1. Pablo didn't know I received the message before he did. At the time, I was sitting in front of the vanity mirror when an Instagram notification popped up. I opened my phone and saw the message. "Vanessa, I'll never interfere in your life again. Are you satisfied now?" My heart was pounding, and before I could even react, I saw Pablo glance at his phone beside me, then suddenly rush out in a panic. He had always been composed and restrained. It was the first time I had ever seen him like that. I stood up to chase him and almost tripped on my dress. I bumped into the door frame, my knee flared with pain. He didn't even look at me. He shut the car door and left, leaving behind only his words. For this wedding, I had worn a strapless mermaid gown in the chilly autumn weather. I just wanted to feel beautiful once in my life, just once. But he left me there, alone, along with the friends and family we had invited. There was a brief moment when I wanted to run away. I was truly exhausted. I didn't want to clean up the mess he left behind. He was the one who said he'd surprise me. He was the one who made me look forward to it. And he was the one who abandoned me here. But when I saw the glances from the crowd, I reminded myself, this wasn't a wedding for newlyweds just going through the motions. We had been married for years. After careful thought, we invited only close friends and family, not even 6 full tables, just people from both sides we truly cared about. Among them were my college roommates, close friends from work and life. They had all traveled far just to indulge my sentimental wish. I turned stiffly, changed into something comfortable, and went to greet them one by one. Pablo's good buddy joked, "Sis-in-law, you guys really know how to keep things fresh, having a wedding 5 years later. Don't forget to invite us for your silver and golden anniversaries." I smiled and agreed, but in my heart, I knew there wouldn't be any such day. And even if I lived to see it, my marriage with Pablo wouldn't last that long. My best friend Aurelia rubbed my hand. "Why are your hands so cold?" she asked, then followed with, "Where's Pablo anyway?" I forced a smile. "Oh, he's busy again. Got called back to the office just now." She gripped my hand tightly. We'd known each other for over 10 years, and we knew each other too well. When our eyes met, I nearly broke down in tears. I didn't want anyone to sense anything off, but inside I was overwhelmed with frustration. After finally making sure everyone was settled, I collapsed in a chair, too exhausted to speak. Then my mom suddenly called and yelled over the phone, "Do you even have a heart? Your sister is dying, and you're still in the mood for a wedding?" I didn't even have the strength to stand. I just calmly listened to her rage. It took me a moment to understand what she meant. Elise had a depressive episode and tried to kill herself by slashing her wrists on the school rooftop. I finally found my voice and said, "Didn't the groom already go save her? What else do you want me to do? Kill myself to ease her pain? Would that cure her?" There was one more thing I didn't say. I won't live much longer either. I don't have many days left. You'll be satisfied soon enough. But I didn't want them to know. I didn't want to see any of them in my final days. What kind of thing is that to say? Even your husband couldn't bear to watch. Your sister, who grew up with you, is dying, and you're so cold-blooded? My mom kept shouting. She didn't know that it burned my throat just to say that one sentence. I held back a cough and hung up. Staring at myself in the mirror, I looked like a ghost. Whenever Elise is involved, I lose. She always manages to take everything from me with ease. Elise is my uncle's daughter. After my uncle and aunt died in a car crash, she was taken in by our family. From then on, I heard the same sentence every single day. Elise has already suffered so much. Why are you still fighting with her? Can't you just let her have it? Chapter 2. That evening, Pablo returned looking utterly exhausted. I was tending to the wound on my knee. I hadn't wanted to deal with it, but it looked bad. Even a minor infection could bring me intense pain now. It might trigger a spreading infection. I numbly treated the wound. Truthfully, I was terrified of pain. I could barely sleep at night. Since college, I had suffered from severe anxiety. Whenever I got anxious, I'd vomit and become sleepless, each episode leaving my mouth sour and raw. Pablo looked at me. He had been about to head into the bathroom when he suddenly saw the bloody wound on my knee and said, "What happened? How did you get hurt like that? Why weren't you more careful?" I didn't respond and continued tending to the wound. I didn't feel like talking to him anymore. He slowly sat down beside me and reached to take the gauze from my hand. I looked up and stared at him coldly. "Vane, I'm sorry. Today really was an accident. Please don't be mad at me, okay?" His eyes looked so sincere. If not for the truth staring me in the face, I might have been fooled by those eyes once again. "Pablo, let's get a divorce. I'm too tired," I said, not looking at him, just focusing on wrapping the wound. As soon as the gauze was in place, he suddenly lunged forward and hugged me tightly. Maybe it was guilt. He held me so tightly he brushed against my injury. I gasped, and only then did he loosen his grip. He knelt in front of me and said sincerely, "Vane, we'll have so many more anniversaries. Please don't say the word divorce so casually. It really hurts." "Pablo, this afternoon was already the last bit of dignity I gave you," I said, locking eyes with him. He froze. Then panic overtook his expression. "Vane, it's not what you think. Really, the situation was just too urgent. I had to go. But I didn't dare tell you the truth. I was afraid you'd misunderstand." For the first time, Pablo stuttered. "What are you afraid of? Pablo? Am I really that scary? Or are you all still afraid I'll bully Elise? Now you're afraid I'll bully you too?" I laughed in anger. "Vane, you're too emotional right now. I don't want to argue," he said, dodging the issue and retreating into the bathroom. I didn't respond. I went into the study. As I closed the door, I realized my hands were trembling. I lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling. I barely slept, maybe 3 or 4 hours a night. I should have woken up long ago. Elise is a dazzling red rose, the vermilion mark Pablo keeps close to his heart. When I met Pablo, he had already broken up with Elise. He never showed me a photo of his ex, only told me that the relationship had hurt him deeply. But I never knew his ex was Elise. We both silently avoided the topic, until after we got our marriage certificate. One year we went home for New Year's, and Elise was there too. That was the first time I saw Pablo visibly flustered. A woman's instinct immediately told me something was off. I wanted to ask Pablo, but every time I brought up the subject, he'd brush it off. "It's all in the past. No point talking about something that just makes everyone unhappy." After the holidays, Elise went abroad to study violin, something she was passionate about. To support her, my parents sold the house and moved back to the countryside. I can't describe what I felt at the time. All my life it had been like that. Elise got expensive music lessons while I couldn't even afford tutoring fees. I'll never forget the look on my mother's face when she found out Elise would keep studying. Pure pride. She said, "I never thought our family would have a musician." Pablo was beside me then. He held my hand tightly and said, "To me, my wife is the best." He truly treated me well. I could look at his phone anytime. He gave me control of his bank cards. He was the model of a good husband online. I had a poor appetite, so he learned how to cook and made dinner for me every night after work. We used to walk hand in hand at night. Life back then was simple and pure. I thought it would last forever. Then Elise came back. She hadn't become a famous musician. Instead, she had developed severe depression. Her arms were covered with scars from slashing with eyebrow razors. My mom hugged her and cried like a wreck. She came to me, looking worn out, and said, "Vane, I regret it. Can you give Pablo back to me?" I found the whole thing absurd, as if Pablo were one of the dresses, toys, rooms, or snacks I used to hand over to her. She was used to getting whatever she wanted the moment she asked for it. I ignored her, thinking she'd gone mad. She and Pablo had been together once. She told me herself back then. I still remember that New Year's Eve, fireworks blooming all around. She was unusually friendly, asked to go see fireworks with me, and pulled me out. Pablo had been inside playing cards with the elders. Elise kept dragging me forward, relentless. Chapter 3. We walked for what felt like forever until Elise pulled me to sit on a park bench. She spoke to herself, reminiscing about the past. "Vane, I can't believe that little girl from back then is actually getting married now. I didn't know what to say. Then, suddenly, her tone shifted. Vane, you've always hated me, haven't you? Say something. I truly didn't know what to say. You hated me so much that you married Pablo just because he used to be my boyfriend. As soon as she said it, she broke down into tears. Fireworks exploded above us at that exact moment. She leaned against the bench, the light glimmering on her face, glistening with tears. It was the first time I had ever seen Elise cry like that. In an instant, my hands and feet turned ice cold. Pablo had been her ex-boyfriend, and we had only just gotten our marriage certificate less than a month ago. I swear on everything, if I had known they had been together, I would have stayed far, far away. But I didn't know. Pablo had walked into my life, told me how much he liked me, and stayed with me through the hardest days of my life. I didn't know you two had been together, I finally said. She glanced at me and said nothing, just walked ahead on her own. A few days later, she left to pursue her dream in music. Before she left, she sent me a message. You've stepped aside for me so many times. I'll let you have this one. I clutched my phone and fought bitterly with Pablo. What did she mean let me have him? If he couldn't let her go, he should have stayed with her. I'd just accept that I had picked the wrong person. Pablo shouted, claiming he was innocent. He pulled out his phone to show me. Vane, you can't do this to me. I don't even have her on Instagram. I didn't know you two were related. And if you had known, what then? I would have chosen to be with you sooner. I'd avoid her. I wouldn't even look at her. As he spoke, he shut his eyes. He made me laugh, and he quickly pulled me into a tight hug. In the years that followed, Elise really did disappear from our lives. I had almost forgotten the whole thing, until she returned, her studies behind her, her spirit broken, like a rose about to wilt. Even more pitiful than before. She always said she was cold, though maybe it was just because she came back in winter. My mom grew a head full of white hair from the worry. I even introduced her to some doctors I knew. Then I saw the way Pablo looked at her, and I couldn't lie to myself anymore. You can't hide the kind of tenderness that comes from truly caring about someone. It felt like a needle pierced my heart. I could barely breathe from the pain. When I confronted him, he snapped at me for the first time. Enough. Vane, look at her. Do you have to make a scene now? His anger made me cry, and then he hurried to comfort me. I'm sorry, Vane. I didn't mean to yell at you. We've been together for so many years. Don't you trust me? For a while, I tried not to think about it. So many years of love and companionship, enough for me to keep pretending, to keep dreaming. Then he went on a business trip to Tibet. He came back just in time for New Year's. We went to my parents' house to deliver gifts. Without my knowledge, I saw him pull out a bag of saffron and hand it to Elise. Locals said this helps with the cold. He told her. Then, under her surprised and touched expression, he took out a talisman. This is supposed to keep people safe and at peace. I didn't say a word the entire time. I just felt dazed, like I had traveled back to my childhood, when my parents would return from trips with piles of gifts for Elise, while I could only watch, like a dog wagging its tail for scraps. On the way home, Pablo reached for my hand. I kept pulling away, until I realized he had somehow slipped a massive gemstone ring onto my ring finger. I was stunned. He pinched my cheek gently and said, "Is my vein brewing vinegar? The saffron was something your mom asked me to get. The talisman, I just picked it up on a whim. They say your sister might be possessed. But the ring, I've been picking it out for a long time. As long as I'm here, you'll always be safe." He was always so good at sweet talk. I stared at the ruby the size of a pigeon egg in a daze. Then he kissed my forehead and said, "Vane, let's have a wedding. I've always regretted not giving you that." We locked eyes, and in that moment, I truly believed everything before had been my imagination, that he really loved me. I burst into tears instantly. He panicked and wiped them away, asking over and over what was wrong, like a child who had done something wrong. At that moment, I really wanted to tell him. During the time he was away on his business trip, my insomnia got worse. I was vomiting nonstop. At first, I thought I might be pregnant. I was so happy. I went to the hospital for a checkup, but because I couldn't stop throwing up, the doctor recommended a full body exam. When I got the diagnosis, I didn't believe it. How could this be possible? I was still so young. How? I went to several hospitals. They all gave me the same result. I wanted to call him right away, but I couldn't stay calm. I couldn't even face it myself. I didn't know who to tell, or how. The doctor asked why I hadn't come sooner. I said it had been this way since college. I'd throw up whenever I got anxious. He sighed and said, "Young people are under too much pressure." Back in college, my mom couldn't afford to support both me and Elise. She only paid my tuition. Every day she'd message or call me, telling me to work hard, to understand our family's financial situation. Sometimes at 6 or 7 in the morning, I'd already get her texts. "Do you have a part-time job yet? Are you making money? Can you win a scholarship?" She said she was anxious. The family couldn't save money. What would they do for retirement? I asked her why. Then, she still sent Elise to expensive music lessons. She got angry and yelled at me. "Why are you always so petty? Why do you keep clinging to Elise like that? She finally has a dream. Doesn't she deserve support? What about me? What more do you want? I already paid for your college. Are you trying to kill me?" She wanted Elise to have the life she dreamed of at the cost of my survival, but she never saw it as a problem. She would only say, "I gave birth to you. I raised you. What more do you want?" Every day, I worried about my living expenses, how to make money, how to polish my resume, how to find a better paying job. That was when I met Pablo. He comforted me. He understood me. When he started his own business, I followed him everywhere to save money. We bought standing tickets for 20-hour train rides. He brought 2 little stools. We sat close together. He shielded me from the crowd. He whispered in my ear, "One day, I'll give you a good life. But now, I don't have any life left to live." Chapter 4. Pablo didn't know that on the night of the wedding, when we passed by a jewelry store near our home, I suddenly recognized the name on the storefront. It felt familiar. On a strange impulse, I went in, holding the ruby ring on my finger, and asked the salesgirl about it. She was very young, her cheeks turning a bit red as she said, "Oh, this ring? Last Sunday night, right before we closed, a man rushed in just off a flight. He said he had to buy something for his wife. He must really love her. Why else would he be so frantic? Or maybe he did something wrong." I murmured, unsure who I was speaking to. She froze, awkwardly silent. I turned and left. So that's why he suddenly bought the ring. He had brought back gifts for everyone else that night, except me. Maybe it was guilt, to avoid the awkwardness. He gave me an expensive ring. All those feelings I had, so touched, so moved, they now seemed utterly laughable. On countless nights, I'd been afraid. I wanted to tell him about my illness, about everything. I longed for even a trace of comfort that never really existed. But it was all just me, being foolishly sentimental. I lay in bed, tears streaming down my face, numb. Then the door opened suddenly. Pablo pinned me down and kissed my tears away, asking, "Vane, what do I have to do for you to stop overthinking?" A wave of nausea surged up my throat. I don't know where the strength came from, but I shoved him off and ran to the bathroom, vomiting violently. He looked wounded, offended. "Vanessa, what are you doing? I can't even touch you now. How can you treat me like this?" I ignored him, collapsed on the floor. After a moment, I forced myself up, rinsed my face with cold water, and said calmly, "Let's get a divorce." "I mean it." He tossed me a towel and turned away, scoffing. "In your dreams." I watched his retreating back as he fled the room, and I whispered, "You will." Chapter 5. I went to the hospital for a painkiller injection. I couldn't even swallow regular pills anymore. Then I went straight to Elisa's hospital room. I only sat down quietly beside her. She instantly flew into a frenzy, yanking at her foreline, blood dripping everywhere, as she screamed, "Vanessa, what do you want from me? Can't you just leave me alone?" I said nothing, just started peeling an orange. When I finished, I realized I couldn't even eat it. I'm on a liquid diet now. There are so many things I want to taste, but I can't, not even an orange. I held it out to her. "Want an orange? It should be sweet." I wanted to taste it too, even if it was sour. Elise became even more agitated, knocked the orange out of my hand, and broke down sobbing. My mom barged in, holding a meal tray for Elise. The food looked familiar, but I didn't have time to dwell on it. She slapped me across the face and yelled, "What has Elise ever done to you? Why won't you just leave her alone?" Blood started flowing from my nose. I stared at the bloodstains on the floor, silent. Then I got up and walked out of the room. My mom chased after me, trying to say something. She grabbed my arm and said, "Vanessa, what's wrong with you? Fever? Why have you lost so much weight lately? What's it to you?" "I'm your mother," she shouted. "Really? I don't believe that." I smiled bitterly, and the tears came pouring out. She cried even louder than me. "I am your mother. What do you want me to do? Can't you try to understand me? Just a little? I named you Vane. You used to be so thoughtful when you were little. What happened to you?" I couldn't take it anymore. Maybe it was the hunger, but my head was spinning. I ran away from her like I was escaping, but as long as Pablo refused to sign the divorce papers, I would keep coming back here. We could all just keep torturing each other. Chapter 6. Pablo came rushing home while I was struggling to stomach the overcooked porridge in front of me. I tried a few bites, but threw it all up. I drank a bit of sugar water, forcing it down. "Vane, what exactly are you doing?" he asked in a low voice, barely containing his frustration. "Can you make me a bowl of noodles?" Pablo was a great cook. His noodles were especially good, but he hadn't cooked in ages. I couldn't remember if it was work or something else that kept him away. After eating nothing but liquids for days, I was craving noodles, his noodles. I had searched many restaurants, but never found any that tasted like his. I knew I couldn't eat them now, but maybe I could just smell them. That would be enough. "She's already like that. Can you stop going to her, please?" he pleaded. His words cut like a knife. I remembered how I once told him, back when we were still in love, that he was the person I trusted most in the world. I really meant it then. I just didn't realize how short-lived that closeness would be. "Fine, divorce me. If we divorce, I'll stop going," I said stubbornly. "You're being impossible," he snapped, slamming the door behind him as he stormed out. Pablo once told me he'd never let me regret marrying him, but I did. I regretted it. I don't even know why I want the divorce so badly. It's not like I have much time left anyway. But every time I think about those days we shared, I feel suffocated. Do people really change? Just like that? How could he treat me like this? How could he? Why did I offer up my heart, only to have it crushed? Why do they all enjoy stomping on me? Why can't I even run away? Every day, I kept going to Elisa's hospital room. Anyone who didn't know better might have thought we were the closest of sisters. Eventually, I figured out who had been cooking her meals. The moment I saw the food, Elise smirked and said, "Want some? Pablo made it. I can only eat what he makes now." That was the first time I nearly lost it in front of her. I hadn't even left the hospital before Pablo called. His voice was irritated. "Vanessa, can you stop causing trouble? Elise is sick." "Fine, divorce. If we divorce, I'll stop," I repeated. At the crosswalk, I suddenly had the urge to throw myself into traffic. But then I thought about how unfair that would be to others. Everyone's just trying to survive. I can't use my death to burden someone else. I stepped back and stared at the crowd, at the endless stream of cars. All I could think about was Pablo cooking for Elise. It was too ironic. He always looked so tired. I used to feel bad for him, learned to make the foods he liked, waited for him to come home, even when I couldn't eat a single bite myself. I tried to understand his struggles, but what he was struggling for was cooking nutrient meals for Elise. "Pablo, how dare you? If I had more time, I'd drag him to court and fight to the bitter end. But I only have a few days left." Maybe heaven finally heard me, or maybe Elise had finally run out of strength. That day, I went to see Elise as usual. We were arguing at the stairwell. I envied how freely she could yell, how much energy she had. My mom had called Pablo too. Elise, crying and desperate, sobbed, "I don't want to see you. Why don't you just die?" I stayed silent. Then she grabbed my arm and shook me violently. "What do you want from me?" I turned to Pablo. My meaning was clear. Elise became hysterical. She pulled at me, lost her balance, and nearly fell. Then I saw Pablo rush over, panicked, and catch her in his arms. I fell down the stairs. There were pieces of glass at the landing. I raised my hand to shield myself. Crash. The glass shattered. My white sweater sleeve was pierced all over. My face too. I must have looked terrible. So ugly. I hadn't looked good in a long time. I didn't even dare to look in mirrors anymore. Pablo ran down, shouting, "Are you okay? What happened?" My sweater was soaked in blood. He tried to lift me up. I pushed against his chest, fighting back tears. "Can we get divorced now? If we divorce, I won't come anymore. I promise I won't bother you too. Please, can we get divorced?" Chapter 7. I really didn't have much time left. I couldn't afford to waste it. I couldn't wait anymore. And I certainly didn't want to see Elise again. Even more than that, I didn't want to see my mother hovering over her like a mother hen guarding her chick. But most of all, I didn't want to die as Pablo's wife. I didn't want them handling my affairs after I was gone. What if there is a next life, and I run into them again? Pablo's face was grim. "So I disgust you this much? So much that you do this just to divorce me? Fine, as you wish." That day was the lightest I'd felt in a long time. After a quick bandaging of my injuries at the hospital, we went to sign the divorce papers, though we'd have to wait a month for it to be finalized. I felt terrible. I pleaded with the civil office clerk. "We both consent. Can't we do it now?" The clerk said, "You've already made it 3 years of marriage. Can't you wait 1 more month?" "But I can't. I really can't. The doctor said I don't have many days left. I don't even know which day it might be. I really can't afford that one last month." Pablo's face was so dark it was almost frightening. "Vanessa, are you really that desperate to be rid of me?" I didn't want to see him, not even for another second. I had so few days left. I wanted to spend them on myself. I stood up to leave. He stopped me and said, "The assets will need to be split 50-50. That'll take time. Lawyers, if you rush, you'll lose a lot. You don't need to finalize the divorce this fast. Take everything. It's all yours." Then I added, "Pablo, let's not see each other again. I wish you everything you're hoping for." "Vanessa, can you stop being so childish?" he shouted behind me. I didn't respond. I bought a plane ticket to Dolly. I had a house there, one I bought a year ago. It had a small yard with a big jacaranda tree. I'd heard it blooms with countless flowers in May and June. That house came from a large commission I earned on a project. I fell in love with it instantly. It was in a remote location, so it was cheap. Luckily, I'd never told anyone about it. That meant I still had somewhere to go. A few nights after I arrived, I couldn't sleep from the pain. I got up and gave myself a shot of painkiller. Just then, my mom called. She immediately began screaming at me. "Are you crazy? Divorcing someone as good as Pablo? To make room for your precious Elise? Huh? Vanessa, what kind of nonsense are you talking about?" she shouted. "If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up," I said calmly. "You're just going to abandon me? You got money from the divorce. Now you're going to live a good life and forget your parents?" Her voice cracked into sobs. "How much do you want? Why are you always so cold? You came from my womb." She started chanting it like a curse, and I was the puppet bound by that curse. As long as she repeated it, or anything like it, I was supposed to obey. "If you don't answer, I'm hanging up," I said, irritated. 300,000. Elise needs treatment. We also need to rent a place. She said tentatively, "I'll give you 500,000. I had about 600,000 left. The remaining amount would be enough to get me through my final days. That money would be enough for her retirement too. Though if she still chose to support Elise, I couldn't stop her. "Why are you being so generous?" I mumbled to myself. "Mom, haven't I paid enough?" "What are you saying? Isn't it enough? How much more do you want? What else do I have to do?" "Vane? Vanessa?" She called my name uneasily. "I'll give you 500,000. Just stop being my mother, okay? I won't be your daughter anymore. Is that all right? It's not like I chose any of this. I didn't have a say, did I? I'll give you the money, okay? But from now on, you can't be my mom." I hung up. The tears came uncontrollably. I kept telling myself, "It's okay. It's almost over. It's all ending soon. These last days belong to me. They're all I have left." There was a little stove in the room, even with the heater on. I was freezing. I pulled the blanket tighter. Morning sunlight spilled through the curtain, blinding me. That's when I realized it had been bright for a while. I pushed myself up and opened the curtain. Mountains stretched endlessly into the clouds. Mist swirled between the ridges. The view was impossibly beautiful. And I realized I only had a few more sunrises left to see. What a waste, all those days I spent just surviving. Before I could admire it for long. My phone rang. I was so annoyed. I almost smashed it. But Aurelia was planning to visit me soon. And I still wanted to see her. If I broke the phone, she wouldn't be able to reach me. I had to see her. I picked up the phone. It was my dad. Vane. Your mom's gone crazy. Don't listen to her. Keep the money for yourself, okay? Vane. Are you all right? I'm so sorry. It's all my fault. The divorce is okay. You just do what's right for you. Where are you now? He'd never been a man of many words. But now he spilled everything at once. And yet, I felt nothing. He was my father. My real, biological father. He had worked so hard for so many years, supporting the whole family. But he also watched my suffering in silence. He always told me to understand them, understand why my mother made the choices she did. They named me Vane to remind me to read the room, to be thoughtful, to be obedient, to be good. But no one ever taught me how to know my own mind. Every day, I wondered why I was alive. For what? For goal after goal. Study hard, give way to Elise, save money for the family, earn money for the family. Dad? Yes, sweetie, I'm listening. I don't owe you anything anymore, do I? Vane. Vane. He kept calling my name, panic rising. I'm saying I don't owe you anything anymore, right? I asked again. Vane. I'm sorry. It's all my fault. All my fault. Dad, can you do me one favor? I asked quietly. Anything. Just tell me what you need. He said, suddenly energized. Can I stop being your daughter? I asked. He didn't respond. I could only hear the sound of him trying not to cry. I continued. It's just too hard, being your child. I'm so tired. I don't want to do it anymore, okay? Please stop contacting me. Don't look for me. We don't owe each other anything now. After a long pause, he finally whispered. No one will make you suffer again. No one. I hung up. Tears pouring down. Then came the coughing, then the vomiting, and finally, mercifully, I fell asleep from the pain. Chapter 8. When I woke up, Aurelia was by my side, her eyes swollen from crying. I reached out to wipe her tears and said, "What are you crying for? Your sister just went ahead to scout the road for you. When you're 100 and come join me, I'll have your back." Before I could finish, she pulled me into a tight hug and sobbed. "Vanessa. You idiot. You absolute idiot. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you say something earlier?" I patted her back gently, trying to soothe her. "I'm telling you now, aren't I?" She didn't answer. She wiped away her tears and went to prepare some liquid food for me. She was surprisingly prepared, almost like she knew more than I did. Doing everything better than me. "How long have you been eating like this?" I lowered my head and didn't look at her. "Don't worry about it. I can't remember the days anymore." A big tear dropped onto my blanket. "Don't cry. I've only told you, so let me remember your smile, okay?" I tried to comfort her, but my tears followed hers anyway. She reached out and gently wiped them from my cheeks. I knew it wasn't good to keep crying like this. I thought for a moment and asked, "How many days off do you have this time? The scenery here is beautiful. I'll take you sightseeing." I quit. She said calmly, "You're crazy. Why would you quit? You worked so hard for that job. Just for this? Are you out of your mind?" She didn't respond, just quietly cleared the dishes. "Vanessa, I don't need those extra days, but seeing you even one more day counts. Let's not be so stingy, okay?" She said it with her back to me. In that moment, I suddenly felt like maybe my life hadn't been all that terrible. Chapter 9. The day we signed the papers, I blocked Pablo on everything. Aurelia picked up the divorce certificate for me. She told me Pablo had been trying to find out where I was, asking over and over how I was doing. Aurelia ignored him. When she told me, I barely reacted. I only said quietly, I don't want to hear anything about him. I never want to see him again. All right, I'll make sure he never sees you again, Aurelia said, gently, like coaxing a child. My illness kept getting worse. I spent many nights in agony, unable to sleep. At first, Aurelia slept beside me, but one night I whined. I just want the bed to myself. Let me have it, please? She silently nodded, but the next time the pain woke me, she burst into the room with a painkiller syringe. Does it hurt that bad? You should have called me. Call me. Vanessa! There were nights I hurt so much I wanted to die. I even looked up euthanasia, but found out it costs more than dying is worth. In Switzerland, euthanasia costs about 700,000 yuan. That thought alone made me give up. One night I got a call from an unknown number. The moment I heard Pablo's voice, I hung up. He texted me, I need to be present for the property division. I wanted to tell him to stop bothering me, but then I remembered that euthanasia quote. Even though I was shaking from the pain, I forced myself to type, just give me 700,000, the rest is yours. He replied, Vane, where are you? I want to see you. I'm sorry, just once. Please? Forget it, I'll die on my own. I blocked that number too. I lay on the bed, my clothes soaked in sweat. I was painfully aware of every second. Then I noticed the sky beginning to brighten. I suddenly had a bit of strength. I changed into a soft pink jacket Aurelia had bought me. She used to say I dressed like an old lady and always gave me pink things. I took a blanket and lay down under the jacaranda tree in the rocking chair. The sun slowly rose. A new day began. Aurelia came out and brought me a cup of water. I could barely see her clearly, but I tried. Struggling to keep my eyes open, I wanted to look at her carefully. She came closer. I could finally see her. She asked me what I was looking at. Aurelia, jacarandas bloom in May and June. Big, blue blossoms. They must be beautiful. MHM. She nodded. I really wanted to see them. Neither of us said anything else. I reached for her hand and held it. I didn't die inside the house. I'm sorry. I didn't leave you anything. Just this house. She shook her head, crying, refusing again and again. When the sun's out, this house is really warm. Slowly, my consciousness began to fade. Vanessa, Vanessa, when people die, nothing before matters anymore. Let it go. You belong to yourself now. You're free. I heard her crying beside me. Don't cry, my friend. We will meet again someday. Extra. Chapter 1. The morning Vanessa died, Pablo was suddenly hit with a suffocating feeling. He had been at the bank, transferring money to her. He had even considered using the asset division as an excuse to see her. But when Vanessa cut off all contact, he panicked for real. That transfer was the last thread tying them together. She was willing to give up everything, just to never see him again. Then came the night of her final message. He woke up suddenly in the middle of the night, overwhelmed with anxiety. He tried asking Vanessa's best friend for news, but got nothing. That woman was so tight-lipped she could have worked in national intelligence. He rushed to transfer money to Vanessa. The moment the transaction went through, a sharp pain seized his chest. He collapsed to the floor, and even the bank's security guard came to ask if he needed help. He waved them off, but as he stepped outside, tears streamed uncontrollably down his face. The pain wrapped around him like barbed wire. He didn't know why. When he touched his tears, even he thought it was absurd. A terrible feeling crept over him. What happened to Vanessa? He activated every contact and connection he had to search for her, and the answer he finally got was one he had never dared imagine. Vanessa had terminal cancer. He called Aurelia to confirm, and all she said was, "What does it have to do with you?" He found out about her little house, and rushed there overnight. Aurelia was sitting in Vanessa's chair under the jacaranda tree, lost in thought. The evening breeze swayed the branches above. Under the dim light, Pablo saw her lonely silhouette. In that moment, he was terrified, truly terrified. He couldn't even bring himself to speak. He opened his mouth several times before finally asking, "Where's Vane?" Aurelia looked up, her voice icy. "And who are you to ask? What right do you have to ask where she is? What identity do you have now?" For the first time in his life, Pablo knelt. He knelt on the cold winter ground, red-eyed, begging her, just to let him see Vanessa one last time. He had never been so scared. Then came the answer he dreaded most. Vanessa is dead. She's already gone. Why can't you leave her alone? Aurelia opened the gate, her voice cold and cruel. Do you even know what end-stage esophageal cancer is like? You can't eat. You starve to death. Even drinking water becomes unbearable. Pablo, aren't you successful now? Do you remember the woman who used to drink at business dinners for you until she vomited nonstop? Do you remember she had severe anxiety? Why don't you go look up the causes of esophageal cancer, do the math. Figure out how much of her death you contributed to. That's your achievement, isn't it? She married you at 22. Didn't even get to wear a wedding dress. At 27 you said you'd give her a proper wedding, then left her standing there alone. Do you have no conscience? Pablo listened, blank-eyed, like his soul had been ripped from him. He had always thought they might still have a chance. He thought she was just being moody. That's what he believed. Like a drowning man, he clung to Aurelia's skirt in desperation, pleading, "Please, just let me see her, just once. I'm begging you." Aurelia said coldly, "You're disgusting." Then she shoved him away and slammed the gate. Pablo sat outside the courtyard all night. Later that night, a drizzle started. He lay there, barely able to feel anything. He told himself it had to be fake. Vanessa can't be dead. She was only 27, so young. She even said once that they'd try for a child before turning 28. How could she be gone first? The next morning, when Aurelia opened the gate, she found Pablo slumped against the wall like a soaked stray dog. She had no sympathy left, but suddenly spoke with chilling interest. "Pablo, I saw that money transfer you made to Vanessa." Pablo looked up, dazed. Then she said, cruelly, "Do you know what she wanted that money for? At the end of her cancer, the pain made her wish for death every second. She wanted to go to Switzerland for euthanasia. You finally sent the money, but it was too late." Pablo clenched his fists until his knuckles turned white. He couldn't breathe. Aurelia ignored him and went back inside. As she closed the door behind her, her tears finally fell. She remembered Vanessa in those final days, lying in bed, barely able to speak. Once, Aurelia had said to her, "Vanessa, I have money. I'll send you to Switzerland." Vanessa typed on her phone, "No, what if I die on the plane? It's nice here." Now Aurelia knew Vanessa hadn't wanted her to spend money. She had once said, "The living shouldn't give way for the dead." Vanessa had always thought of everyone else, always understood everyone else, but never, not once, had she thought about herself. Pablo came to the courtyard every day after that. Sometimes he stood there for an entire afternoon. Aurelia was so sick of him she often pretended not to see him. Until one day, Pablo said, "Half of Vanessa's post-marriage property is still with me. Do you really want that money to stay with someone like me? She left everything to you. I think she wanted you to have this too." Aurelia gave him an extremely mocking smile and said, "Sure, if you give it to me, I won't refuse. Let me see her once. Where is she buried? How did you handle her funeral arrangements? I want to know," he said with a negotiating tone, but she only responded with another mocking laugh. "I knew it. No way you'd be that kind-hearted. Keep the money. After all, taking care of a lunatic like Elise must cost a fortune." Pablo, always triumphant in the business world, was defeated for the first time. That night, unable to hold back, he climbed over the wall into the yard and saw the blanket on the sofa. An overwhelming instinct told him that it belonged to Vanessa. He reached out for the blanket she had used. Her scent still lingered in it. Vanessa's scent flooded his nose again after so many months. Tears suddenly rolled down uncontrollably. He curled up in pain on the sofa, sobbing. Aurelia came out after hearing movement in the living room and saw the scene. Pablo curled up like a child, clutching the blanket Vanessa had used. She felt a wave of irritation. Who was this man putting on an act for? She tried to yank it away, but couldn't even move a corner. She beat him with a stick, but he still refused to let go. Blood streamed from Pablo's nose from the blows, and Aurelia shouted angrily, "You've dirted her blanket. You bastard!" Still, he wouldn't let go, clinging to it tightly in his arms. The more pathetic and sentimental he acted, the more disgusted Aurelia felt. In the end, she chose to call the police, but to her surprise, Pablo fled with the blanket in his arms. The police were confused, wondering if she had really called them just over a blanket. Aurelia wanted to say something, but was momentarily lost for words. She only muttered softly, "That belonged to my dead friend." The police wanted to ask more questions, but Aurelia said nothing further and politely saw them off. Pablo ran through the old streets clutching the blanket like a treasure. First, he laughed. Then, as he laughed, he started crying. Eventually, he squatted on the ground and sobbed like a child. "Vanessa, you were really that heartless, not even leaving me a shred of remembrance," he thought. Then another thought struck him. Well, I guess someone like me never deserved it in the first place. That night, he wrapped himself tightly in that blanket, filled with Vanessa's scent. He inhaled deeply and muttered, "Vanessa, come into my dreams. Come yell at me. Hit me. Just look at me once. That's enough." He slowly drifted off to sleep and dreamed of their first meeting at university. Vanessa had been so shy and bashful. He asked her if her name meant "The southern wind understands my longing and blows dreams to the western isles." She smiled awkwardly and said nothing. In the dream, he tried desperately to see her face clearly, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't. It was as if a fog separated them, one he couldn't lift. He forced his eyes open and woke up to find his face soaked in tears. Suddenly, something occurred to him. He returned and contacted his lawyer, dividing up a large portion of the marital assets and transferring them to Aurelia. It was his first time sitting inside Vanessa's house. He stared greedily at everything in the room. This was the last place she had stayed. Their old home was completely stripped of her presence. Even the rooms she had lived in reeked of strong disinfectant. Aurelia asked coldly what he meant by this. Pablo answered nervously, "She probably wanted you to live well. I have no demands." "Oh, I'll accept it. You can leave now," Aurelia replied, not even glancing up from her book. "Where is she buried?" Pablo asked, still unwilling to give up. "Well then, I don't want it anymore." Aurelia lifted her eyes and looked at him with a mocking smile. "Can't I just know where she's buried?" Pablo was on the verge of collapse. "No. Why should you know? You tormented her like that while she was alive. Can't she have a few peaceful days after death? Do you have to go and haunt her too? Pablo, do you not have even a shred of conscience?" Aurelia snapped. Pablo stood there silently, letting her scold him, yet making no move to leave. At first, Aurelia was furious. Then something seemed to dawn on her. She walked up to him and said in a low voice, "Do you know why Vanessa insisted on divorcing you even when she didn't have much time left? You're so clever, why don't you take a guess?" Her words struck like a dagger to the heart, and all the thoughts he had refused to confront came flooding back. He understood. He understood it all. She didn't want to be connected to him in any way. She had made that decision with utter resolve. He left, deflated like a defeated rooster. But just before leaving, he suddenly turned back and said, "You're right. I have no demands. But she probably wanted you to have what was rightfully hers." Pablo spent so long in Dolly, and in the end, all he took away was the blanket he had stolen that night. Life seemed to go on normally, until one morning. He went to a noodle shop for breakfast. His mind replayed those memories like a movie. Vanessa had once begged him to cook her a bowl of noodles. He stared at the bowl before him, an inexplicable sorrow crushing him. Like a deserter, he ran out of the noodle shop and never ate noodles again. Chapter 2. By the time Elise found Pablo, he was nearly buried under a mountain of empty liquor bottles. She wept as she tried to pull him up, but Pablo gave her a mocking smile and said, "You're really good at crying. Huh? Must feel great to use tears to trick people into pitying you?" Elise flinched. "Pablo, you're drunk." Smash! Pablo broke a beer bottle and then slashed it across his wrist. He didn't hold back, blood gushed everywhere. "You did it just like this back then, didn't you? Why did you do it? Didn't you know we were preparing for the wedding? You sent me those kinds of photos. Your mom came to find me." He couldn't go on. Elise finished the rest for him. "You didn't have to come. You can't put everything on me." She screamed through her tears, then reached out to cover his wound. "Pablo, don't do this. Let's go see a doctor first." Pablo ignored her. He pushed her away without even looking at her. Only then did Elise realize she had been cut by glass. But Pablo didn't spare her a single glance. He ran out into the yard, crying out loudly, "Vanessa, punish me if you want, but could you see me?" Just once. Just one look. Please. He crouched halfway to the ground, completely lost. It took Elise a great deal of effort to get him to the hospital. She tried to comfort him, saying, "Pablo, people have to move forward. Life still has to go on." But Pablo stared straight at her and said, "But Vanessa doesn't get to have a future. Which one of us deserves one?" She couldn't bear to meet his gaze and fled in a panic. Her tears began falling more and more as she walked home. They had known about Vanessa's death for a long time. They still remembered the day Vanessa's mother came looking for Pablo, asking about her daughter. She had complained, "She really won't pick up my calls anymore. She's off living some carefree life all by herself." Pablo had only replied quietly, "She's dead." She didn't react at first. "Dead? What are you saying? Who's dead?" "Vanessa." "How could that be?" the middle-aged woman muttered to herself, as if trying to convince herself. "She just doesn't want to deal with me anymore. So she's using this excuse?" Pablo looked at her expression and thought of what he'd later found out. He remembered how this woman, Vanessa's mother, had come to him again and again because of Elise. She had even asked for recipes to cook for Elise just because. During Mid-Autumn Festival, Elise had praised his food. Suddenly, with cruel intent, he said, "Wouldn't one more day of life just be one more day of pain for Vanessa? What does she still owe you? How much more do you want her to repay? You have Elise now. Do you even need her as a daughter anymore?" His questions left her at a loss, and she walked away in a daze, muttering the whole way, "You're all helping her lie to me. Vanessa is my daughter. She wouldn't just abandon me." After hearing the news, Vanessa's father didn't say a word. He just moved out of the house. Their phones were shut off, and not a single message was left behind. That made her mental state even more unstable. She often yelled at Elise, "Vane, Mommy bought you Haagen-Dazs. You've always wanted to eat it, haven't you?" Back then, she had noticed the envy in Vanessa's eyes when Elise was given those treats. But she had grown used to Vanessa's maturity and understanding. She knew Vanessa wouldn't ask for anything. Sometimes she would pull out a wad of money and smile ingratiatingly, saying, "Vane, do you need tutoring? Mommy saved up money for it. Vane, are you cold? Whatever you want, Mommy will buy it for you, okay?" But all these things, she said while facing Elise, until one day, Elise finally broke down. Her aunt had bought piles of children's clothes and handed them to her, saying, "Vane, look, a pink dress, the one you always wanted, and that coat you liked. Mommy bought them all for you. Don't ignore me, okay?" Looking at her aunt's fawning smile, Elise snapped for the first time. Her tone was vicious. "Auntie, why are you saying this to me? Do you think Vanessa is coming back? Was I the one who kept pressuring her? I didn't even spend your money, all right? Didn't your whole family use my parents' compensation money?" Her aunt heard this, and it was as if she suddenly woke up. She clapped her hands and said, "Retribution. Retribution, it's all retribution. Ha ha ha." Tears streamed from her clouded, gray eyes. Then she went into her room and rummaged through boxes, pulling out a stack of documents. She collapsed to the floor and clutched Elise's hand. "Your parents were at fault. The other side only paid 2,000 yuan as a humanitarian gesture. I'll give you the 2,000 yuan back. Just give Vane back to me, please." She held up the old documents from years ago. Elise felt her legs go weak. All these years, she had made endless demands in this household, monopolized the attention, and deep down she had always known what Vanessa's situation was. But instinctively, she believed that since the family was living off her parents' money, they owed it to her. Yet the truth turned out to be something else entirely. How could a mother not love her own child? She vaguely remembered that, as a child, her grandmother had cried and begged her aunt, saying she was the family's only remaining bloodline. Layer by layer, the past was peeled open. She didn't know how to face it. She just numbly went to work every day, and at night played along with her aunt's delusions. She listened to her call her Vane, reliving the past as the executioner of Vanessa's life. Chapter 3. When the jacarandas were in full bloom, Aurelia chose a warm and sunny day. She held Vanessa's ashes and scattered them into the wind, just as Vanessa had requested. As she scattered them, she said, "Vanessa, today's weather is especially nice. So warm." "You were right. The jacaranda blossoms really are beautiful," clustered and spread out like seas of sky blue. Vanessa, I've been eating well, working hard, living my life. You must do the same, okay? Vanessa, you're free now. She used her vacation to stay in that courtyard for a few more days. Lying in the rocking chair, flower petals occasionally drifted down onto her. Suddenly, a pang of regret hit her when Vanessa first bought this house. She had imagined this exact scene with her, but she would never get the chance to experience it again.